Hey everybody, it's Monday again, and here we are back at ya, bright and early. Hey, I'm Tina Frank, and I'm here with my co-host, the fabulous Bonnie Violet.
Hi everyone, Bonnie Violet here. I'm a transgender queer drag queen, and I'm excited to be here today. I just wanted to make a little announcement. I want to apologize for folks who are watching us live last week. You got bumped off, and we're sorry about that. I was trying a new thing with the video, with the music, and it kicked you off. So we won't do that again. And for folks who are listening to us on a podcast, I wanted to also let you know that we are live every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on all of our social medias for Tina Frank, Bonnie Violet, and a queer chaplain. So that's why. And so if you have questions for us that you want to give to us live, you can feel free to watch us as we do our podcast.
Yay.
So
Awesome. So winding up a good weekend. We're kind of on a holiday day, at least we are here. So what do you think you want to address today?
Well, when I went live, I said, the healing begins. That's how I titled it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know we were playing with, like, is it reconciliation? Is it peace? Is it all these sorts of things? And so that's kind of where I landed.
Okay.
So I wanted to, I thought it would be great to kind of talk about, like, so what was it that allowed us to start being in like conversation? Like, for me, what was the thing that kind of clicked for me and also for you in kind of like deciding to open up? And many of you know, I was infected with HIV like 22 years ago now, which is wild because
we are not that old.
I know, right? It's crazy.
We are not that old.
I was 19 when I got infected, so I was young. So at the 20-year anniversary of that, the night I knew when I got infected, it was Labor Day weekend, because I had only had one opportunity to get infected with HIV, and so I decided that I was going to go to Phoenix and be there for Labor Day weekend. And I knew my aunt there, and I knew my cousins, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to stay with them. My goal was actually to meet with the individual who I had contracted HIV from. I had never spoke with him before about it. And I just kind of wanted, I don't know, I just kind of felt like it might be nice. So I went out there to do that.
Why do you think you waited so long to have that conversation with him?
Well, I know for me initially, I think it was like a reoccurring thing is like, I don't want to confirm the worst. I think I didn't want to know that he knew ahead of time and didn't tell me, or like there was some sort of intention to infect. And so I couldn't have the conversation. I was also just really petrified of even having the disease, because we still kind of like hung out as far as like socially. But I never brought it up to him. I did have I had the health department reach out to him to let him know that somebody he's been in contact with has tested positive for HIV, so that he could get tested and do that sort of thing. But as far as him and I having the conversation, we never did. And we like became friends on Facebook, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But we've still never actually had that conversation. And when I reached out to him, he never replied. About getting together. So, but that wasn't really, I don't think that was the reason why I was in Phoenix anyway. So I stayed with Chantel, your daughter, and some of what I wanted to do was kind of reconnect with what my life was like 20 years ago. And so I really wanted to go to our old church, the River of Life Church, which was the church that I left once I got my diagnosis with HIV. And so you said you would take me. I hadn't been around you all in a while, and I hadn't been dressing. Like I'm in drag right now for folks who like may not understand all that. So I'm in drag, but also I'm a transgender queer. So I kind of wear, I guess, female or feminine kind of clothing often. For me, a wig and makeup like this makes it drag, and maybe like just some of the extra pieces. But at that time in my life, I also had a beard. I had a beard for all of my 30s, and like just before shelter in place, I think a couple months, I decided to shave my beard. So I had a beard when I was there, and I stayed with Chantel. And I remember it was time to go. It was Sunday morning. It was time to go to church, and I like wanted to wear what I wanted to wear. And so like I had this little like this little sundress on with like the shoulders were showing, and I had like some little heels, like wedge heels on, like boots kind of things. And then I had some rhinestones on my face and probably some earrings going on. And I remember talking with your daughter and being like, is she going to be okay with this? Can I wear this? Like, is this something I can wear to church? Is your mom going to freak out? I just don't know. And she's like, mom's not going to care. Like, mom's cool. Like, she don't care. Like, whatever. And I was just like, I don't know, because I still had you in my mind of that, the person who thought I was going to hell.
Well, I'm so glad that my daughter knew that.
Oh yeah, she was just like, she's like, no, my mom don't care. Like
that's awesome.
Really cool. And then sure stuff. You like showed up and you opened the door and you were like, hey, how's it going? Gave me a hug and was like, let's go. And and we like hopped in the car and headed over to church. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is happening. Because I was still anxious too, like just not even just about around you, but also now I'm going to church as a bearded lady, you know, and it's like, I wonder how people are going to respond. And we were driving over, and I remember we got just to the church. The church was now in a new location, and
I had to find it online. I was trying to find it all over the place.
Right. And so it's a little bit smaller as far as the congregation. And I believe the son is now the pastor. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember we were getting there and we were almost like to park, and maybe we did park, but I remember you placing your hand on my knee and saying, now, Duane, I do not know how these people are going to respond to you, but I want you to know that I'm here for you. So if you want to stay, we'll stay. If you want to go, we'll go. And that was just like the most perfect thing you could have said to me in that moment, because I wasn't expecting it, but I think it just gave me a little bit more energy to go in there. And then we met up with your youngest daughter, Charlie, and her family. And I feel like I've met them in the periphery again. But I felt like that was almost like my first time meeting them, even though it wasn't.
Was that the first time you met Charlie's husband?
Yeah, I believe it was the first time I met her husband, and the kids were much younger when I had met them before. And so then we all like went into the church, and everyone was like really nice. Like I got like greeted a couple of times. Like I almost got like over greeted. And I was like still really nervous, but it just felt like I just kept getting these cues. I like, the universe, God, whatever, just kept telling me, you're good. I got you. This is where you need to be, like move forward. And so, I just kept going, and we sat in a pew. And the pews were a little weird in the sense that there was like a hole in the middle of like the back rows. I don't know. It was just an interesting setup.
Yeah.
And I was on one corner, you were on the other end. I don't remember how everyone else was sitting, but I just remember where you were and where I was. And we were up singing and like doing all that stuff, worship, praise and worship. And I was trying to like get into it, but feeling a little uncomfortable. And I got this like little tap on my elbow from behind. And I was like, oh, and as I looked behind, there was an older Black woman who was just like beaming. She was just smiles, and she pointed at the rhinestones on my face, and then she pointed at the like the glitter and rhinestones on her shirt and was just like, yeah, you know, like totally like vibing, I guess. And then she was, and then the song was like, a song where you say, you're blessed, I'm blessed, the world's blessed. I mean, we were blessing everything, you know, and she was saying it directly to me. I was saying it to her. And it was just like this magical moment. I think you were crying. I felt like you were crying to the side. And then it was just like, I mean, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. And I felt like that was like God just saying, girl, I got you. You're fine. And I felt like she was representing someone for me, which was God.
Yeah.
I felt like I represented somebody for her. Like I felt like I was somebody in her life that maybe she wished was there with her, that wasn't for like whatever reason. And it just felt like this really magical moment that we couldn't have set it up. But it just happened, and it was beautiful. And then that was into that, at least. Were you surprised when you saw me as like a bearded lady?
No, not at all. Not at all. Because you and I had a few conversations, I think, before then, and I wouldn't want you to misrepresent who you are in that situation. I was worried though for you, and that's something that God's working with me through. That just because I'm concerned about it doesn't mean I should be. But yeah, I was worried, and because we went to a church that was in essence new for both of us, because I hadn't been back to that church in probably 20 years either, because I didn't stay at that church. So I didn't know what to expect. You know, I had been preparing myself that what was I going to do if I had to defend you in amongst all these strangers. So having Charlie and Dustin there, they wanted to spend time with you, Charlie especially, and the kids, was my kind of, this sounds horrible. I know it sounds like this is my making sure that I wasn't the only one there defending you in case we needed to rally around you so that we could do what we need to do. And praise God, just a good reminder when all that played out that God is your defender, Duane. You don't need me to defend you. Just like he's my defender, and you don't need to defend me. And we just need to be the people that God created us to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's helpful to have people that got your back, though. You know, that you know are there.
Sure. Yeah. But that's funny because Dustin's big and tall and not a little guy, and Charlie's tall and not very scared of people. So I'm like, okay, we got this.
We had a bodyguards. I don't know what I expected people to do. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, were they gonna like kick me out? Were they not gonna let me in?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. No, isn't that funny? Now, we talked a few weeks ago about perceptions, and isn't that funny how we both had a perception that wasn't love, either one of us, and we made an assumption that this could potentially be negative. And like I said, what would they have done? They could have said, "Oh, you can't come into the building," or whatever. But who cares? But yeah, I'm sure it wouldn't have been an altercation. But I don't know. When I was excited to have you come. I wanted you to be able to have a positive experience before the Lord. I knew that God wanted you to have an opportunity to be before the Lord in a church setting, and I didn't know these. I didn't know. So I'm like, I'm just going to do what I can to be prepared for the worst case scenario. I'm a prepare for the worst and hope for the best person. Right. So I was preparing for the worst and praying for the best, and God met us right there where we were at. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, and after church, we went and ate and did all that fun stuff. But I also part of my trip was to do like forgiveness ritual or like prayer. And so while everyone was away, I was at Chantel's and I did like a forgiveness prayer, or it was something my sponsor helped me with, because I really wanted to just forgive like a lot of things. I wanted to like, I don't know, but I did like this little forgiveness thing. It was a thing. It was cute. It was like whatever. I don't even know if I could really recall exactly what it was. But I did it. And then the other thing for me is I think the other like, so that was I felt like that was a way of you showing me that you were there for me, and you telling me that you loved me and all that sort of stuff. And for me, I felt it, and I
I'm
was
glad.
just, and I almost felt shitty about it, like, because I even talked with you about it, on the way to the airport, later, because I stayed for like a week or so, but we were headed to the airport, and that's when I like made an apology to you. I was like, we were riding over there, and I was like, Tina, I feel really bad because I thought so poorly of like you and how you were going to respond to who I was and how I am. And that just was not my experience. Like you and your family just like embraced me, and I just had like a really great time. And I feel bad that I thought that about you. And you also then said, at least this was my recollection, you had said, and well, one, you told me I didn't need to apologize, because there might have been a time, because I think I acknowledged that, why did it take so long? And I think you said, well, I got the thought that maybe at a different time in our life, it wouldn't have worked out that way.
Potentially. I mean, we're different people here 20 years later.
Right.
And over time and over life experience, I just believe that God's timing is always perfect. And, I just feel like that we were created for a time such as this.
Yeah.
So that we can share our experience. So yeah, I think that the timing was perfect. And looking back on it, I feel sad that it took me or us, however we want to put it, this long to be open to steps or to be able to reciprocate and to recognize someone reach out to me versus, whatever else we could have thought. So,
yeah, I don't think I would. I wish I think I would have liked to be ready sooner, but I don't know that I was.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Like, I just don't think I don't know, because I remember also when I described to you how I was scared of coming, and you made the comment of like, and you came anyway, and I didn't realize how, I guess, courageous maybe that was. I know we were talking about courage earlier on in the week. Like, I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh yeah, it was a big deal for me to come anyway. Like to just like, to be afraid, maybe think the worst, which is what I typically do, but kind of still move forward anyway.
Yeah. Doing things afraid. It's really a step of bravery and a step of courage. So yeah, that was a huge step. And had you not taken that step, who knows how long there would have been? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that was a total God. Like, to me, that was a God thing. And
absolutely,
like,
it was.
Yeah, totally. And then, but I think the other thing that we did after that is that we committed to stay in relationship with each other.
Yep, we sure did.
And to really try to figure out, okay, we live in different states, we have very different lives, but how can we like build on this relationship?
Right.
And so we committed to just call each other like once a week.
Yep.
And we did it. We've done it pretty steadily.
Yeah, we have. We've had a few mishaps, but yeah, I mean, we're both just committed to this relationship, and we've also not limited ourselves to talking points.
Yeah.
So that's what true relationship is.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It hasn't been like not work. It's like, yay, I get to call Tina, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I've just really enjoyed our time the last couple of years. I wanted to acknowledge, we've had some hellos. Hi, Lizzie and Kathy. Lizzie and Kathy say hi to you, Tina.
Yay. And Lizzie's my good friend here in Arizona, and Kathy is actually an extended relative for both of us.
Oh, hey.
Hi, Kathy. Out of North Dakota. So
I noticed the brothers.
Cousin Jean, by way of Cousin Jean.
Fantastic. And Armani, thank you for saying I look amazing.
Yes.
It's good to see you, Armani. Hope you're doing well. And then there is a comment here. I'll bring it up, and then would you like to read it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's from my friend Anita. She's in Washington State. And she says, great video. We have to accept who God created us to be and be surrounded with love. Jesus gave us unconditional love. I love you, Tina, with your abundant love for everyone. You really are the chosen one. That's so nice to say. May you flourish in your journey, leading everyone to our loving Father. His arms are always there to welcome us. He invites us, come you all. Thank you for sharing. Thanks, Nita. That was very nice.
Thanks so much, Nanita. Yeah, that's a blessing.
That is a blessing. Oh my goodness. And these are folks that I don't always see. We're online a little bit, but I don't ever get to see them in live time. So that's awesome.
Right. IRL. We don't see too many people in real life anymore.
That's true. That is very true. That is very true.
And as always, audience or listeners, you're welcome to ask questions at any point in time. Tina and I both are very willing to answer probably most anything. If we're not comfortable, we'll tell you. But one of the reasons why we're really wanting to do this is that, we've seen so many families, or like we hear about so many families kind of like not talking anymore and canceling each other. And we've experienced something different. And our hope is to help other people see that there could be a different response to your parents' different political views or religious affiliation or whatever.
Absolutely. And we know that all families have challenges, and it breaks my heart when I hear people say, oh, I don't talk to my mom anymore, or I haven't heard from my sister or cousin or whatever for months and months and months. So that makes me sad. Our hope is that families will start to communicate again, start to come back together again, and really find that foundation that they were born into initially.
Yeah. What do you think it is that's because there are family members that I haven't been able to have this sort of like connection with or conversation with? What would you say has made this possible? Like, why does this work?
Well, I think because we've been able to look past our own agendas, our own, what we consider to be right, wrong, appropriate, whatever. Because for me to impose what I think is right or wrong or appropriate on you is not love. And for you to do it to me is equally not love. So I think a lot of that is just acceptance, realizing that we can't control it. So, I can't control you just like you can't control me, and we shouldn't want to, but for me to say, oh, no, you can't do that, or you can't take that job, or you can't live in that place, or you shouldn't do this or that or the other, that's not for me to say.
Right. I think it often comes from a place of wanting to be helpful. It's like, none of us is like wanting to cause harm. I was talking with another family earlier on this week, and we were kind of talking about family secrets and like things that people don't talk about. It's like everybody knows, but you're not talking about it. And then and there was just kind of like this being hurt by that. Like, I was hurt that we didn't talk about this, or we pretended like it didn't happen. And then it was like, yeah, but that wasn't their intention. Like, they weren't trying to harm us. They were actually trying to protect us, right? They were trying to keep information from us that they thought was too hard to handle.
Yeah.
All right.
Looks like we got a couple more comments. There you go.
Yes. Do you want to read this one too?
No, go ahead.
All right. So from Kimberly in Idaho, I love that the two of you are showing others how truly healing it can be to just communicate, share your experiences, and know that we are all here to love and be loved. Life really is short, and losing any time with our loved ones is too much. Thank you both for doing this. Thank you, Kim. You're a regular listener, and I love getting to talk to you between shows too. It's awesome. Been really great.
And did you say she's from Idaho?
Yeah, she's in Idaho.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got to speak with her earlier in the week, and she was saying that, so I met her through working at Alpha, the HIV/AIDS organization that I had started. And she actually shared this with me, which I don't think she would care that I shared this, but she shared with me that she had kind of decided she's working in marketing now, and that part of her experience at Alpha really kind of like sparked that in her.
Oh, that's amazing.
To get into the marketing field. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So of course I asked her for some little tips and hints on what we could do
for marketing. Yes.
To let folks know more about this. So, I mean, and speaking of that, we'd love it if folks who are listening, you know, don't feel like, I know this is an intimate conversation and it feels like this is like, I don't know, like you're jumping into a very like intimate conversation, and you are, but feel like we're comfortable with you sharing it to your friend group or other groups that you're a part of. We really want folks to, I don't know, if people can, I mean, I think for you and I, it's part of my spirituality and part of my spiritual beliefs is to be of service. And I believe the only thing I have to offer other people is just my experience. And so this is a way of me being able to be of service and to show gratitude for the experience that God and my spiritual life has afforded me. You know,
I agree with you. We decided that we wanted to be open with one another, and we wanted to be open with the community around us. So I think we are more than happy to share. We're more than happy to field questions. If someone's struggling, trying to make a connection with someone, we're happy to put our 2 cents in if you want it. We're happy to encourage you. Sometimes I think you just need a cheerleader on the sidelines cheering you on, and we're happy to do that for you. So feel free to share us, reach out, whatever it is you'd like to do.
Yeah, comments, whatever, you know.
Oh, it's Kathy again. She needed to hear this today. That's good.
All right. Yay. And Kim was okay with me saying that I inspired her to do marketing. Yay. Thanks, Kim. I didn't think it was too big of a secret, but glad that you're on here. Glad that you're in my life too.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Right.
It's cool to hear from people that you haven't heard from in a while. And this week I've had a couple people that I haven't heard from or got to actually have conversation with, have a conversation because of our podcast. Some questions about what we're doing, why we're doing it. You know, the feedback that they're giving us on if they appreciate it. That's been all very encouraging. So I'm grateful for that. Thank you guys for reaching out to us, even though we haven't had a communication in a long time. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe there is something about what we're learning together that might be viable for people around us. So that encourages me. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm afraid there's some extra. Can you hear some noise? I'm going to close my window real quick.
Yeah, I can hear.
And remove myself so you don't see what I'm wearing below my chest.
Okay. So here we are. So Lizzie, it looks like you're getting ready to move here soon. I saw you yard selling all of your things. There we go. Did you get rid of your noise? I can't hear it now.
Yeah, I did. I just had to close the window. It's just so hot, but it was a poor choice for me to leave my window open when we went live. So I was caught.
That's funny.
So Kim has another. I didn't read through it all completely. Do you want to read it, Tina?
Sure. It says, my middle sister's youngest son is openly gay. However, our entire family is in the dark about this because she is afraid how they will react. How can I help them both? I don't want anyone in our family to feel less than or be hidden, etc. He has moved to the East Coast, and the family hasn't connected with him for about 5 years. Have they not connected because of his position, or do I understand that correctly that nobody knows?
It sounds like it's something that folks don't know, that they're afraid to have the conversation because of how the family will react.
So I wonder if he just left just to make sure that no one would know.
Yeah. Well, for me, the thing that comes to mind is, I think sometimes we just have to know our place. Not just in the sense of I think some of the best things you can do is support your younger sister. And and her son in some way, if you have connections with him, just to like just be in communication with them as if things were the same. Maybe even be willing to, you know, with your youngest, well, is openly gay. However, so it sounds like, you know, just having an opportunity to be able to talk to folks about it just might be what you can do for them. It may take some time. And you were confirming that they don't know. So the rest of the family doesn't know. Yeah, I mean, it really, it's best if it comes from him, and or sometimes mom, you know. I was go ahead.
I was gonna say, you know, one thing I've always sold short is our ability to just come alongside someone and let them know that you care about what they're going through. Because even though there may not be something physically, tangibly happening to them, emotionally, they're both going through something. And so I think come alongside your sister and your nephew if you're able to, and just say, hey, I can appreciate where you're at, and I just want to encourage you. This, whatever you think may be happening, I think that you're both amazing. And when you're ready to tell the family, then I'll be there with you, and I'll be your cheerleader, and I'll be your liaison. I'll go there. I'll bring a voice of reason. You know, as long as the son and the mom are doing okay, I think I would just take that approach to just encourage them both where they're at, and encourage them to give the family an opportunity. You know, Duane spent a lot of time not even giving us an opportunity to respond to him. And so that might be something you may want to share, that your family may do exactly what you think they're going to do, but they may not.
Yeah.
And if we prayerfully move forward and take the risks little by little with someone alongside us, I think it makes it much easier.
Yeah. And not everybody deserves to know your truth. If you know, like, because there are people that do respond not well and are not kind. And so I think it's important, just like with any truth or anything that we might feel is a vulnerability or might cause some sort of conflict with people, that it's, you know, you don't have to tell everyone, and not everyone deserves to know it. And I think part of that is like, I don't know, not everybody necessarily needs to know, unless it's something that, you know, that he wants. You know, I had a friend of mine, Maya, she's in Chicago, and she was sharing a story actually earlier this week on a video I was watching, that you know, she's a trans woman, and she ended up getting invited to, or there was a death in the family, and so she had to go to a funeral, and not everybody knew that she had transitioned, so she was like a new person to everyone. And she was saying, like, there were whispers and there were this and that, and it was just like there was this thing going on. And then she said her mom just like just shut the whole room up and told everybody, you know what, this is my new daughter, her name is Esmeralda, and you are going, you know, like basically just said, like, love her, like, she's my daughter, treat her as if she's my daughter, that's enough, like, don't be crazy. And so I think that's a moment where maybe somebody did. I know that she loved that her mother did that. That wasn't something she asked her mother to do directly, but her mother in some way knew that that was what she needed to do for her child at that moment. But I think being a sister or being an aunt is just kind of to try to just be as you always were, with them.
Yeah.
And I know you, Kim, I know you're a great support to those two folks.
That's awesome. That's half the battle. That's half the battle.
And there are a lot of stories out there of like people who did come out and did have good experiences. And those can often sometimes be helpful to see as well, just to know that there's more than one response for people to have in you sharing that you're gay or lesbian or trans or really whatever it is that you feel like sets you apart or makes you different from what how people might have saw you once before. And Kim says, I love the perspective you both bring to this. Thank you so much. I just want to be supportive, and I think it bothers my sister more than it does him.
Mm.
Yeah, you're probably. So it seems like maybe the sister's the one that needs your hugs.
Yeah. I wonder, and I don't know if we want to open up this can of worms, but maybe. I think sometimes people think that things can be a reflection on them. I grew up in a generation where they wanted us to behave a certain way, or it made them look bad. And it wasn't just our sexuality. It was just all things. When you go to someone's house, you need to sit and be still, and you don't touch anything because it makes us look bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you don't do this or that. And I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of that going on, and maybe there's a perception. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Maybe there's a perception or a change that can take place in your sister's heart or life that can give her the opportunity to be free of that. Because if her son really doesn't care and is free to be who God's created him to be, then maybe she can let loose of that and allow him the room that he needs to really experience the fullness of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of parents, when you have, I've never had kids, so I don't know, but I've heard this a lot, that like when parents have kids, they have this idea of what kind of child they'll have and what their child will do. And I think maybe once they are a little different than they thought, they have to kind of grieve that loss. Especially, I mean, I don't necessarily think every parent does that, but I've heard some parents talk about that. So it almost seems like you're losing what you thought of something before. But I do think there's like that idea of like how the thing I want to say is, I think a lot of parents or people, they've only seen one or two narratives about what it means to be gay. So especially if you're living in like rural America or non-urban settings, that you maybe have narratives of what you've seen on TV or what you've heard of this or that. I know like many people hear when their child says I'm gay, especially if they say I'm a gay man, they hear you're going to get AIDS, because that was such a like common narrative. I think it's less and less, now, but I know for me and a lot of the people in my generation, when they were coming out to their Mormon parents or to anyone really, a lot of their parents responses were like, oh my God, you're going to get AIDS. And that was almost what they said first, because it was just like a knee-jerk reaction. So I think parents it's a hard life to be gay, to be queer, to be whatever. It's against this. It's not the status quo. So you're just going to have a different experience with life. And I don't think our parents want us to suffer in any way.
I agree. And I think that's, they want to protect us from that or protect you from that. So I think that's good insight.
Yeah.
Even as you're adults, we still want to protect you. That's why it's hard not to want to control the situations. And that's why it's so important that we have to give room. I'll just take one step further and I'll be still. But I think we discount the accountability piece or the potential of growth based on, I don't want to say friction because I don't want people fighting, but when we come up against something that's different than who we are, it challenges us to either stand firm in what we are or to have a different experience. And so if I never allow my kids to have anything that rubs against them wrong or that irritates them or whatever, they're never going to have an experience on how to deal with that when it happens, because it's going to eventually happen. And two, when that happens, how to be open to the person who's bringing it so that you can grow from it. And because I think in those encounters, we can grow from that on both sides. And so I call it accountability. Some people call it other things, but I call it accountability because I think accountability is where we're in our sweet spot. Because I don't ever want to be the same today as I was yesterday. I want to be more kind. I want to be more generous. I want to be able to love at a higher capacity. I want to be able to impact people in a way that brings out all those good things in them too. And if I want to get more skilled in that every single day. The only way I can do that is to have people that irritate me more often in my life. I mean, think about it. The best way to overcome an irritation is to expose yourself to it until it doesn't irritate you anymore.
Right.
So I just feel like we need to stop running interference for the people that we love, and with our hearts right, but the outcome is not what it should be.
Right.
It's not according to God's plan.
Yeah. What I mean, and people change, just like I changed. My parents changed. I know that sometimes I have a really hard time seeing them as different than I saw them as a teenager. And I think and in my experience with my family, you know, me telling my family I have HIV or I was gay, it was on the same day. But my family they're really loving and they really care about me and they're super supportive, but they didn't always respond the best way initially. You know, I was married to a man and my father didn't go to our wedding.
Yeah.
But, you know, months later, when that man my ex-husband was fighting for my care in the hospital when I had meningitis, and the way that my husband fought for me, my dad was like, well, that's all I ever wanted for you. I remember he drove to San Francisco to see me at the end of a tour. This was years ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, and we were in the car and we were driving back. I think we were driving back to Idaho, and it was me, my ex-husband Travis, and my mom and my dad. And Travis was asleep, and my dad he shared that with me. He's like, you know, I don't understand your I don't understand how you're you can be gay or whatever, but what I do understand is that you two are in love, and the way that he takes care of you is all I've ever wanted for you. And, you know, he then brought Travis into the fold as a son of his. You know, I mean, my parents were just as devastated when we decided to not be together anymore as you know, I or my ex-husband was. I mean, my parents, I talked to them about it when I decided to leave. You know, I actually had a conversation with them that I was going to be leaving my husband before I actually talked with my husband about it. That is so it just, you know, I think sometimes people just need time, and we rob people. You know, we just, you know, I think my dad would have went to my wedding if I didn't get married so soon. However, I don't need to dictate my life. I don't need to make choices in my life to make you feel a certain way or to allow you time. You know, I got to live my life regardless of how anyone else is going to respond. Because if you have an issue with me being gay, that's your issue. That's not my issue. You know what I mean? That's your issue, not mine. Whereas most of my life I've taken on is that's my issue. Well, if I wasn't blah, 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 if I wasn't gay, if I wasn't trans, then there wouldn't be this conflict. I could just show up and wear what I want, and it would, you know what I mean? Just, whatever. So I think it's an interesting balance of figuring that out. And safety. There truly are times that it's not safe. So
yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. I can imagine.
And then Kim is responding to Tina. She says, yes, Tina, our parents were from the generation you just described. I think she doesn't want anyone to say anything negative or make her feel bad for who he is, which, by the way, he is amazing. And I honestly don't think our family would ever shun him at all. My 88-year-old dad came a long way to be very accepting. He loves his grandchildren. And good point on the HIV/AIDS concern. I hadn't considered that. Yeah, I mean, I do think that there are a lot, I don't know, I think people are a lot better than we give them credit for.
I think you're right. But, you know, it's hard when you're in the middle of this circumstance, and especially when it's been elevated because of the culture that we live in. It's really hard to see past all that. And you're too busy in survival mode to give anyone else an opportunity to receive you, you know? Yeah.
And Todd has a comment here. Hi, Todd. Todd is a reverend. He's a pastor. He says, quote, we rob people of the opportunity to be graceful. I wonder, and we rob ourselves of the opportunity to be graceful to ourselves. Yes.
It's a good insight.
Yep.
Like,
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
it looks like you had a second comment.
Oh, I mean, sometimes it takes people time. And yes, sometimes patience isn't something queer folks can afford for their own safety. Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, like, you do you, boo. Like, you do what you need to do to live life to the fullest that you can, and that's going to look, everyone's way of living is going to look different. And it can change. It doesn't have to be that way forever. But yeah, it's interesting because I feel like nowadays a lot of younger folks coming out it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, and they're coming out much younger and all these sorts of things. And like, I could have moments of thinking like, oh, I wish I would have done this sooner or that, but it doesn't, I don't know. It didn't happen that way.
Yeah. And I don't know. You just have to take life one moment at a time. Every encounter one at a time. And I've found that if I can determine who I am, and I think there's an inset. I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's a seed that's planted in us for our potential, for our wholeness, for our purpose. And if we can just retract enough from the culture and from all the things that's dictating to us enough so that we can meditate on that and meditate on, okay, who am I? What's important to me? What is the dream that I have in me that's so big that I can hardly imagine it? If we can focus on those things, as all these things, because the world's going to happen around us either way, and step out solid in that, or at least a good foundation of that. And then those of us who want to walk in love, who want to really live out kindness and joy and peace, to come alongside one another and to be cheerleaders for one another as we take those steps. And as we grow and as we go deeper and deeper and deeper, I think that's where we're going to start to see victories in some of these areas. And we're going to start to see where people can be who they want to be. And I think that there's people out there taking on personas right now that aren't really who they are. There's such an effort to try to belong, to try to find a place to fit, that feels so distant and outside of their life, that they're trying to find a place in culture, and it's stealing from them that peace, that joy, that underlying potential that they have within them. And so I really don't, and that's in every gamut. So I just want to find us, I want to be part of building a place where people can be who they are, who are seeking and looking for the potential and the reason they were created, and with a desire for wholeness. And I think if we can look past some of these other things and just love one another in that way, I think we'll have an opportunity then to see change.
Yeah. It feels like it's part of the process though, like claiming your identity. Like, I think that's a big, I think for me, that's been a really big part. And identity, it's helped me, but it's also not like the truth of me, and it never was. So I never quite felt like I fit exactly, because I thought to be this, I would have all of this comes with it. And the truth of it is none of us are like each other. And just because we have the same sexual identity, the same race, the same gender, the same religion, does not mean that we have the same perspectives, our experiences are definitely different. But I think that's the thing that becomes challenging, because we still live in a world in which identity is very, like you said, that's the culture, right? It's like identity is kind of like how we can feel, I think, initially safe or connected to people without having that conversation to really connect with an individual, which I think in the long run sells us short. But but there's also I don't know, it's just, I think there's the want to push it, but there's also a reason why things are that way.
Going back to our conversation about life versus culture, we have to press into life, and I believe that that's the creator. And if we press into that, some of these other things are going to are fall into place, but some of these other things are going to fall away. And we do have to live within the culture honest, but the hard part I think for all of us is no matter what your gender is or what your sexual preference is that not allowing the culture of the day dictate the essence of the life that we have, the purpose that we have, and the wholeness that we pursue. And I think all those things come from that time that you spend with God, our Creator.
Right. Well, I think the thing that's also important is to not just do what church says to do.
That's exactly right.
Because church is of the world. It's, there's like, like it can be, right? So, I mean, I feel like there has to be this idea of like really having a relationship with whatever, whether you call it God, whether you call it higher power, whether you call it Buddha, whether you call it whatever, it's like your relationship with that entity. Or for me, I feel like when I'm reaching toward that, all of those walls, all of that identity just, it just washes over it. It's like, it's just above it all, So it's like, but it's hard because there are spiritual spaces and spiritual people who are not above that, like living close. I don't know, living into that, I guess. I don't know. It just, I feel like real spirituality allows you to live beyond those identities and just be you more authentically, I guess. Because,
well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you're right. The church is far from perfect, and
and some churches are great. Like,
no, all churches are great. Their initial intent is great.
Right.
But all people are broken. We're all broken in some capacity. So when a whole bunch of broken people get together, hurting people hurt people. No matter under what covering it is, under a church covering, under work covering, under a family covering, whatever it is. And so we got to start to work through that brokenness. And brokenness looks a lot of different ways. And I think that's why it's so important that we understand who we are, who our Creator is, and that we're each unique. You're right. We are each unique. And my purpose and perspective is going to be different than yours. And that's by design. But only in the opportunity to allow us to be different is where we're going to find that love and that kindness and that acceptance. At the end of the day, I believe that if we seek for something bigger than ourselves, we're going to find it. And if we seek the position of the Creator, the potential that's within us, we're going to find it.
Yeah.
And so that's my hope, is that you and I can continue to grow in that, because we're not perfect. And that the folks around us that can glean anything from anything that we may have said may find the courage to take a step towards that.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I find it really helpful. Like, for folks who are listening, like, you guys are helping, like, you're helping a lot. Us too. Like, it's just encouraging. And I don't know, it's just really great that we can have this connection with people in the way that we are. I don't know. It's just been a really beautiful experience. I know we're running on low on time. I think we have just a few more minutes. So
okay.
Did you want to read Kimberly's, I think it's a comment?
I think it's just a comment. Yeah. Kimberly says, I truly appreciate all the perspective here. I'll continue to love and support and let them both know that if or when they want to share, that I'm on their side to help. I have to run. Love you both. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We'll be praying for you and for your family, that they'll continue to grow together. And if this and when this comes up, that it'll be something that they can embrace and grow stronger as a family together.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of came to mind too is that I think there are things that family members can do to kind of signal to the people in their life that they see them without saying, I see you. And so, I mean, whether that's like going to a pride event or sharing something on social media that's affirming, or, I mean, I think we see these sorts of things. And that might be a way of just kind of signaling, or even kind of like being able to like really start to have some of those conversations with, like, it's like maybe the sister has a family member they can talk to about it or something like that, and that can begin to open it up. But I think there can be little signaling that people can do just to let folks know that I see you.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Awesome. Especially yesterday was National Coming Out Day. So
it was? I didn't know that.
It was. So I guess it ended up being, a little bit of our conversation today was just, it was a great conversation. Thanks so much for doing this with me again.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I don't feel like I know very much, but I'm willing to share what I know. And I'm trying to learn and grow. And like I said, be able to be more loving and kind to the people around me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to say thank you to all of our listeners who are listening to us live, and for folks who are listening to us on a podcast.
Thank you all.
Please continue to check us out. We're here every 10:30 a.m. every Monday Pacific Standard Time, and then we do upload on the podcast usually by noon Pacific Standard Time. I try to do that pretty quick for folks, so you can kind of plan on that as well. So you all take care. And have a great weekend. And I'm going to play one of our little new outros.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Have a great week. Splintered Grace Podcast is brought to you by a queer chaplain. Follow us on all of our social medias, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at a queer chaplain. Listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Feel free to tip us at Venmo, Bonnie Violet, and support monthly on Patreon. The song is original by Steven Sandnoff, The Chasm Between Us. Rest in peace, Steven.